Hey guys, I'm Reagan. I work in finance.
I'm Jordan. I'm a CPA.
And this is Working Late.
We don't clock out, we just keep going.
So if you're grinding through a long day or a late night, we're here to keep you company and remind you why it's all worth it. So, Jordan, what do you have going on this week?
Yeah, so since we are in kind of the middle to end of January, we're really trying to crank out those business returns and really get them knocked out before the business returns start flooding in. What about you?
Yeah, so I have a pretty busy week this week because, fun fact, I was on a jury last week. I got called in for jury duty on Monday, and then I got picked for the jury, so I had to stay through Friday. That was crazy. It was a full week trial, so it's kind of a big case. I won't go into it. But yeah, I'm also working through 75 Hard. I'm almost done with it because I have
Proud.
Yeah, I have my next marathon coming up. So yeah, I've been doing 75 Hard leading up to the marathon. So it's almost over, just a couple weeks left. But yeah, since I was on jury duty last week, my boss also took that opportunity to kind of reorganize responsibilities. So she gave me 4 new monthly responsibilities on my plate, and I'm having to catch up from everything I missed last week while I was on the jury. So honestly, I'm pretty stressed this month trying to get it all done. But
Same girl, same.
yeah. Even though it's stressful, I will say it does remind me that I'm trusted to do more now. My responsibility is increasing, and it just gives me a good opportunity to prove myself at work. So as stressed as I am, it'll pay off.
Yeah. So another fun fact is I also was selected for jury duty, or summoned for jury duty, I think is the correct terminology, the week before Reagan was. We almost made it through the very first part. We went into the courtroom and they told us that we were dismissed because there was new evidence and everything got postponed. So
Really?
yeah, 2 sides of it.
Well, yeah, I think you told me you were at work by 10 a.m. or something, and I fully expected to go in at 8 and be done by noon at the latest. I was shocked when they actually took us into a courtroom and started going through jury selection. I didn't think there would actually be any cases, but
Yeah. To be honest, I was kind of let down whenever when we got dismissed. I was ready for some action. But, it is what it is. I'm also grateful I got to go back to work and didn't get super behind.
Yeah.
So, there's that. So on a personal note, do you have anything crazy going on this week or any funny stories or anything that's happened other than jury selection?
Honestly, yeah, the jury took up my entire life last week. I will say, since I've been back at work this week, everybody keeps asking me, hey, what was the trial about? You were out for a full week. It must have been something super crazy, super excited. The O.J. Simpson case has been referenced to me multiple times at this point. And then I tell them what the case was, and every time, everybody's face goes, oh. Because, yeah, it wasn't a good case. It involved children. It was not something I wanted to be making a judgment on. I will just say that everybody is going to prison. And it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
But yeah, that's
very cool.
The intro to all of my meetings this week has been, what was the trial about? What was the case? Was it so much fun? And then I tell them what it was, and they're like, nope, never mind. Don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, hate to ask about that. Yeah.
Anyways.
For sure.
Anyways,
nice.
What about you?
Nothing too crazy. Kind of just normal tax season stuff, just really trying to balance, work and life. Still maintaining a social schedule, kind of. It really is mainly just family that I try and keep up with around this time of year, unless it's maybe you're in town or, we have something super specific going on that we just absolutely cannot miss. But yeah, anyway, so I had my in-laws over for dinner this past weekend, and we have fish fries. We love to fry fish for people. And so we were doing fried halibut. And so I'm the chief fish fryer. And so, I was doing it in the kitchen over on a skillet, or 2 skillets pretty much. Used to do the deep fryer. Don't recommend.
Okay.
Too much work, too much cleanup. But anyways, so I was frying fish, and I've had grease pop occasionally. Sometimes I use a bacon screen, depends on the day. I had too much going on, didn't have the bacon screen, and a giant glob of grease popped. And I literally watched it go from the thing onto my face. And it did blister. So Yeah, and of course my husband is like wanting me to wear safety glasses at all times when frying things, but either way it wouldn't have saved my face. So note to self and note to the audience, please be careful if you're frying
that's
fish.
crazy.
The stuff does pop.
I can't believe you
Yeah.
have a blister from that.
Yep. I know. I know. Whenever I told people about it, they're like, no way. And then like Greg, I showed him later that night. He was like, oh my gosh, I thought you were being dramatic. Not the case.
Well, do we want to go into our working late boosts? Do you have any boosts to give this week, Jordan?
Yeah. So whenever I am really trying to get in the zone, I really don't judge too hard and I'm not good at it, but I really like to sing to my music or have music going and just kind of get in a good groove, especially if my husband's not, in the office. We do share an office. So I pull up tiny desks. There are a few different ones that me and my husband love and watch on repeat, and neither one of us has gotten tired of them yet. So I'll usually pull those up on my phone and have my other monitors, like, strictly for work. But on my phone, over in the corner, I do have my tiny desks playing.
I totally relate to what you're saying about like singing, because sometimes when I am on a run and, it's getting difficult and I need to like kind of get myself back to a good spot mentally, I will also turn up my music and sing it out loud. I'm sure I look crazy. I'm sure I look so crazy sometimes.
I do the same thing. When I was still running, I would do the same thing. Sometimes it just puts you in the mood and in the groove and just kind of gets you in the right headspace. I agree. Yeah. Sometimes it's in the shower, sometimes it's on a run, sometimes it's while you're working. So,
well, my boost this week is, I have it with me, grape Olipop. Not sponsored, but Olipop, if you're interested, we're available. Yeah, it's not caffeinated, but I love like carbonated drinks, and I think this is my favorite one. I love Olipop because this is 45 calories, 4 grams of sugar. I just think it's a great alternative to regular soda, and yeah, it's my favorite one.
Nice. The grape flavor specifically, or the brand?
I do love grape. There's a few that I like though. Orange cream is really good. Sometimes I'll go for the root beer. Oh, and the strawberry vanilla, that's a really good one too.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I highly recommend.
Nice. To be honest, I've never tried them, but they're now on my radar.
You got to get on it. Next time I visit you, I'll bring you some.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so career confessionals. Do you have any confessionals? Oh, and for the listeners, if you want to submit your own submission for career confessionals, these are any embarrassing mistakes, weird office dynamics, client horror stories, anything you can think of, make them really crazy, and you can send those to us at workinglate.pod@gmail.com if you want us to feature them on the podcast. So just so you know, send them to us, and I think we both came with one today. So do you want to start with yours?
Yeah, for sure. So mine is like really tax season related. So the main question, and feel free to answer and like she said, email us your comments on this one. But what does it take to make you cry at work? Like for tax season specific people, or maybe busy season people. Some people, it takes several months of build up and working late a lot and just putting in those hours and dealing with those hard conversations and tough client situations, and then you break. So, that could be mid-March for someone specifically like in a CPA office. I know that's whenever I am struggling the most, is whenever March rolls around. But I know other people, I have friends who, drop of a hat, there has been like holidays and vacations, but one wrong thing and like they're over the edge, bawling their eyes out. So, before I get into mine, Reagan, like, where are you at on that scale? What does it take for you to cry at work?
To cry at work? I don't know if I've ever cried at work because I'm tired. Well, no. Not to say I've never cried at work. I'm
not saying because you're tired. I'm just saying in general, what does it take for you to cry at work?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I will say I do burn out pretty easily. Honestly, I'm not the type of person. I'm not like you. I can't work 90 hours a week, January through April, and be okay. I really admire you for that. I can do that for a week at a time, 2 weeks if I have to, and then I really have to take a break. So I don't know how you do that. Props to you. Mm-hmm. Crying at work, though, for me, it's never been because I'm tired. It's been like because my feelings get hurt. Honestly, I think the last time I cried at work... the last time I cried at work was because I was quitting my job and I felt bad about it.
You felt bad about quitting your job?
Yeah, because you spend so much time with your coworkers, you bond
Yeah.
with them, you trauma bond with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go through a lot together. And this was a job where it was very like team based. And I mean, I spent 60 hours a week at least with these people for years, sitting in cubicles in like pretty close quarters. So I cried when I quit that job. I also cried the day that I decided I was going to quit that job, which was about a year earlier, because they hurt my feelings. And we had this like team meeting. I don't know if I've spoken about it already on this podcast, but we had a team meeting, and basically my boss called us in and just kind of berated us for a couple hours and really tore down all of our work. I think she had just come. Yeah, I think she had just been on leave for like 4 or 5 months, and she came back. I don't really know what her problem was. It was also a very stressful time while she was gone. We had all these projects get piled on, and so maybe I did cry because I was tired. We had just been working like insane hours for 3 or 4 months straight, and at the end of it, I remember we submitted this project, and my boss was like, hey, I have like, well, my interim boss was like, hey, I have a surprise for everyone. I want you all to take tomorrow off. And it was like, I worked so hard for all that time to take one day off. Anyways, I digress. My real boss came back to work, berated us, and that was the day where I was just like, I don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
And I did stay for another year because I needed some things to vest. But yeah, I did not appreciate that day.
So do you feel like it was like that day specifically, or do you feel like, I don't know, you had other things like building up and leading up to that moment, or it just took that one day of, but again, it was hours of being berated. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, we had just gotten all these projects piled on. We had been working a lot, and it was like she came back and she just didn't care that we had just done all of that work. And she just wasn't empathetic about it at all, and just tore us all down. And I don't like being yelled at. That's for sure. I don't like it when people take my work and, you know, only have negative things to say about things that I poured hours into. Also, I have to say, she was upset at the quality of our work, and the mistakes that she was upset about was like, we forgot to put something into accounting format on cell D37 on tab 52 of this workbook. It wasn't like we were making big, huge mistakes that altered everything. Yeah, nothing super material. And so I think I was just pretty done at that point. Yeah, working really hard just for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very valid.
What about you? When's the last time you cried at work?
The one that I'm remembering specifically was last tax season. I'm sure I've cried since then for like personal reasons or just, you know, different things. But the last like work related one was last tax season. It was March or April. You know, we've been working Saturdays for a long time now. I've been pouring in a lot of hours. And last tax season, like I didn't really have an hour ramp up. Like I started like hard from the beginning, working 80 to 90 hours because of the transition, and just all the extra work that was needed from me. And so I was already very like raw by the time March and April rolled around. And I remember this one specific Saturday, you know, it was just a really tough tax season. Everything had been building and wearing on me. And I had this one client who was just, you know, we had made a mistake. She had made a mistake. It was very, you know, back and forth. It wasn't just one-sided. And she would just not let it go. And, you know, started yelling at me and all this stuff. And I'm over here trying to do my best, trying to find solutions and, you know, be professional. And I handled the situation very professionally. But afterwards, I just had to break down, you know. And sometimes that warrants a walk. Sometimes that warrants just shutting the door. That one, I had to leave the office, go for a walk, get some air, maybe even some food or, you know, a tea or something, and then come back. But I was very worked up after that one. So, but yeah, that's my next question. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Is she still a client?
Nope. Nope. Moving on.
Okay.
To the next question is, whenever you do cry at work, and again, this can be to our listeners too, some people go to the bathroom, some people shut their door if they have that privilege and that sort of office layout. What kind of person are you?
Okay. Back when I worked in the office full time, the day of this incident where I was berated, I will say, even though we had cubicles, all of our cubicles, we kind of faced into the corner. And so it wasn't super private, but there was still a little bit of privacy. You could kind of just look in your corner and shed a few tears. And yeah, I would just do that, or I would go to my car, get some privacy
that's a good one.
in the garage, or take a drive even. I also, a couple of my closest friends worked there with me, and so if we needed to, we would just kind of go on a walk. We would go to a different floor together and regroup. But yeah. What about you?
So our office layout, most of the time, I can just shut the door and have my time. And, if it's a day, sometimes I have my door shut for a lot of the day if I just need to focus and cry and, just power through. But whenever I was on my internship during college, we were in cubicles. And it was an office full of guys. I was literally the only girl in the sales tax department. So if I needed to cry, I was going to the bathroom. And, it was a bathroom for the entire office building, not just our company. And that was awkward because, okay, do you sit in the bathroom? One, do you go into a stall? Two, do you, sit there and cry silently? If someone comes in, do you cry, really cry until someone comes in? I mean, I feel like there's just so many faux pas or options, or how do you specifically handle that? So I would love to hear how our listeners cry at work.
Yeah, email us. Let us know.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
Well, I can talk about a situation. This is kind of broad, but I can be a little bit more specific. So at my last job, again, in office full time, I had this coworker who sat really close to me. Our cubicles were in groups according to our teams. And so mine was right here. His was the next team over. And he had one of those keyboards, first of all, that's super loud when you type. And
a mechanical keyboard.
A mechanical keyboard.
There it
is. I think those are cool. Have it at home, though. I don't think you need to bring that to the office, especially where it's really quiet most of the time. And also, when he was bored, he would get out his Rubik's Cube and he would start working on his Rubik's Cube. Also kind of a loud activity if you're in an office that's very quiet.
Yeah.
And aside from his Rubik's Cube and his keyboard, he would also just spend hours every day talking. I was never really friends with him, so he never talked to me, but I'm talking hours every day he would spend talking. And I had a few coworkers like this. Honestly, there were some coworkers where if you saw them coming, you had to fake like you were on a call, you had to walk the other direction, you had to act like you had a meeting in 5 minutes, because if you don't do that, they will sit there and talk to you for an hour, 2 hours. If it's late at night, they'll be at your desk all night, and then it's why did I even stay late to work when I didn't get any work done? All I did was chat with this person.
Yeah. That just makes me cringe, because I've had situations like that too, and how do you get out of it? How do you personally get out of it? I mean, I've had to, and this was before I had an Apple Watch, but I've had to fake getting a call on my phone, hey man, I really got to take this. Do you fake going to the bathroom? Is that weird? Or do you just sit there because you're too polite to say anything and have them waste a lot of your day?
Yeah. I think there's a few options. If it's during the day, you fake like you have a meeting in 5 minutes and you're okay, I got to go, 5 minutes, whatever. And then you might have to physically get your laptop, pick it up, and act like you are walking to a conference room.
Yeah.
Option 2, if you see them coming, you just completely ignore them. And option 3, you just set boundaries and you say, hey, I actually have a lot of work to do. Am I very good at that? No. I'm usually kind of just, okay, I guess this is my night now. I have seen other people kind of jokingly, whenever this person would approach, they would kind of get up and walk him back to his desk and kind of leave him there. And
nice.
Then walk back.
Returning him. That's awesome.
Yeah. Return him.
Nice.
Also, now that I work from home a lot, I have kind of the same problem, not really, but I like to take my dog on walks at lunch. And the street behind me, if I take my dog over there, I have to be super careful because my dog is like a Weimaraner lab mix. And if we run into this one neighbor, I think she has dementia or Alzheimer's or something. She did tell me her name is Susan B. Anthony. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But
Poor thing.
yeah, if she's outside and she sees me walking Riley, she will stop me and she won't really stop talking because I guess she used to have Weimaraners. She loves Weimaraners. She loves my dog and she wants to tell me all about it, but she just kind of talks in a loop. And it's really hard to get away. Unfortunately, you just kind of have to walk away from her at some point. And also every time she sees me,
bye?
Yeah, I say I have to go by. She acts like
Yeah.
she doesn't hear me and she keeps talking in her loop.
Aw.
You just have to go. And every
Yeah,
time she
I
sees
hate
me,
that.
every time she sees me, she acts like she's meeting me for the first time, too. So I don't think she remembers that I walk away from her.
So do you avoid the street?
Okay.
What
Sometimes
do you do?
it's a really good loop to walk. It's a really good distance
So
to
it's
get
kind
in
of
a quick
essential.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are other loops that I can walk that I do that sometimes, but
Have you thought of maybe like changing your look or maybe putting a sweater on the dog like to disguise her?
you think I can disguise my dog?
Maybe.
I think it's
Maybe
her
she needs a
ears that
Christmas
really.
sweater.
I think it's her ears that really make her look like a Weimaraner, though. I don't know. how
Maybe
to
you need a
disguise
lion
those.
costume to go like over her head to cover her
there you
ears,
go.
you know? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she would tolerate that, but
may cause different conversation.
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can definitely relate. I had a coworker that was very much like that. And so Greg, my husband, he's ruthless. He will totally just like walk away like he does not care. And somehow he's not rude about it. He just makes it happen. But I get too nervous, too paranoid. Like I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And like I know to a certain extent you have to keep like working, you know, especially for us. I don't know if y'all are different, but we're billable hours. So literally time is money. And I know Greg will do this sometimes too. He'll literally just keep working and like trying to acknowledge them, but just keep working. And sometimes they will continue to sit there and talk and not really, you know, get the
Wow.
hint.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be an hour-long conversation.
And Greg just kind of sits there and works the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, some people are just chatty. So he is in construction. It's not really a billable hour type thing, so it's probably more lax. Everyone's salary. All of my staff, they're hourly, but I don't understand. And it's not as much of a problem now. Like being the partner and the boss, like that's not as big of a problem. But previously, when I was an employee, it was happening a lot, and it would make me very uncomfortable. Like if I saw the person coming, sometimes I would shut the door and act like I was hopping on a phone call, and you know, yeah.
You got to
like
do what you
that.
got to do.
I know. So it did, long story short, it did spur some other conversations like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. Are we okay? And I'm just like, we're just at work. Like, I just want to work. Like, I promise everything's fine.
Let's have lunch or let's have a 10, even 20-minute conversation.
Yeah.
These coworkers literally will talk to you for 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's not an
Or like,
exaggeration.
hey, if you want to talk, call me whenever we both leave the office. You know, I have
So
a
true.
long commute. I have a super long commute. Like, let's use that time. Because, like, I really have a lot to get done in a short amount of time when I'm at the office.
Okay, well, that brings me to my hot take of the week.
Lovely.
This is, how close do you think you should live to your office, especially if you go to the office every day? Because I know we both live in the suburbs. We both have pretty long commutes when we go to the office. Other people, I don't know. I've faced some judgment about that. Some people think it's so weird that I'm willing to commute. They think I should live really close to my office. Granted, I don't go to the office most of the time. I know you do. But even when I did, I still moved out to the suburbs and dealt with the commute. But what do you think?
So me and Greg, whenever we were like buying our first house, it was literally around the same time I was starting my first job right out of college. You know, we were broke. We did not have, a ton of money to buy a house that we could afford that was what we wanted, but also close to my office. I really didn't want to bank on the fact like, oh, I think I'm on a partnership track. Like,
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
I didn't want to bank on that. And also, I didn't know what the situation would be, if the location would change. And, you know, so also like the area surrounding my current office, it's kind of older homes that are very overpriced because it's kind of a hot area. And like we couldn't do that. And we didn't want to buy an older home that we had to like pour a bunch of time and money into again, because at the time, like we were starting out, you know, we just wanted to make a good decision for our unit. So we ended up buying a house, you know, that was further away from my office, but it was brand new. It was affordable. It was in our price range. It was also very central for Greg's work and anywhere he may have to like drive or, you know, what have you. It was pretty even. It did end up being a lot further for me. So right now, and plus we are in a growing area and I have to get on like a major highway, and it seems like every year the traffic does get worse and worse because of it growing. So right now I'm at like 45 minutes to an hour, even with all the shortcuts I've found, and lately it's been closer to an hour. So yeah, we are building a new office building, and that's going to put me like 15 minutes closer to our current house. Yeah, so since we're building that new office building, you know, that's going to be a more permanent location. The location isn't going to be as up in the air. And since I'll now be a business owner and we're both further along in our careers, it'll just make more sense for us to be closer to the office, because literally for me, time is money. So although we have enjoyed living in the suburbs and we're okay with sacrificing that time because it was a more affordable house, I do think that we're going to try and get me closer to my office at some point in the future. And that may be 15 minutes, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I know some people who, you know, refuse to live further than 5 minutes from the office, though. And I think that's a little extreme whenever you could be buying a much more affordable house that's more your style and, you know, more of what you want.
Yeah, I will say, so like I said, boomerang situation. I think I said that in episode 1 or 2. I used to work full-time in the office for the same company that I work for now, except now my job is more remote. And so when I did work full-time in the office, for a while I lived a lot closer to it in the city. My office is very much located in the middle of Houston, and not to dog on Houston, but like I don't want to live in the middle of Houston, especially if I'm going to have a family. Like, respectfully, Houston schools are not good. I don't really want to have to pay for private school, things like that. So we made the decision when we wanted to buy a house to move further out, like into the suburbs, where it's just going to be a better environment for our family. I think we could afford a house with a backyard for like our dogs, and the schools are better out here. So for that reason, I think it's worth it to live in the suburbs, even if you do have a long commute, because my commute was also 45 minutes to and from the office every day, and it still is if I ever have to go in. But honestly, I think I do kind of have the best of both worlds right now, since I work remote most of the time, and so I can really live wherever I want, and I'm really happy with the setup. But I think it just really depends on your life stage and what you like. Like I said, some people were pretty judgmental when we decided to move out here, as if they're the ones having to make the commute. But I think it works for us. I like the suburbs. I like having, you know, better school districts and more space. I think it's worth it. So
yeah,
that's my take.
I totally get it. I've had a lot of people be very judgmental, you know, to us too. So she's in Houston. We're like in the Fort Worth, DFW area. And like, I have people make fun of us like, oh, you're all the way out in New Mexico. You're so far. Because we have a lot of people who live in like South DFW or more central, in between Dallas and Fort Worth. And everyone hates, you know, they always make comments about having to drive all the way out to our house because we're so far.
Me too.
And it's just always a thing. So I will say though,
understand.
Yeah, I don't regret the decision. I think for our first house, and I think all the information we had at the time, I think we made the best decision we possibly could have. And to be honest, I love our house. I think, you know, at some point we're going to outgrow it with kids on the way and whatnot. But, you know, we're in a great school district now. If and when we decide to move closer to my office, like it's definitely still going to be in a good school district. So I don't think that's as big of a deal.
Yeah,
and they're all
true.
kind of the suburbs. It's just which suburbs are you in?
Yeah.
So we'll see. And I'm really hoping that, you know, being 15 minutes closer to the house with this new office is going to make a difference too, and hopefully help me last. It's not as big of a deal for Greg because, you know, his location is really stellar for, you know, where we live. But I'm really hoping this kind of gives me a few more years before I pull my hair out. But it's been fine.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between a 30-minute commute and a 45-minute commute too.
I totally agree.
30 minutes is fine.
Everyone I've talked to totally agrees as well. Like, we have some close friends in the neighborhood next to us, and her office just moved as well, and it was 15 minutes closer, and now it's 30 minutes, and she has a kid and has a normal life and a husband, and she was like, yeah, it made such a difference for me. Like, quality of life is just so much better. So we'll see how it goes, but...
Yeah, so do you want to move on to our listener corner now?
Yes.
Yeah, so again, we're taking emails, DMs for this at workinglate.pod@gmail.com. So if you are literally working late or have long days and you just want advice or you need a pep talk, feel free to email us. We might read it on the podcast. But we have an email today. This comes from a listener, and we'll keep it all anonymous. But she said... Hey, Reagan and Jordan, I'm 28 and have been thinking I want to make a career change. I've had this thought in the back of my mind for a while now, but I hate the idea of having to start over. The issue is that my current career path isn't really compatible with my long-term goals or with having a family. Basically, I work in private equity and I'm still working super long hours all the time. I thought work-life balance would be better by now, but I don't feel like it is, and I'm not sure if I ever will, and I'm not sure if it will... And I'm not sure if it ever will be in this career. The other problem is that the money is really solid, and starting over in a career where I work less probably means I'll have to take a pay cut too. I'm not even really sure what I would want to do instead of this. So what would you guys do in my situation? Should I bite the bullet and start over somewhere, or should I just stick with it since I've been on this path for about 6 years now?
So I'll go ahead and jump in there. So Greg has gone back and forth on if he should change career paths, if he should change, industries completely. And I know a ton of people who do this, and it's been a great change for them. I personally think that family is number one, and if you need more time at home with your kids and with your spouse, then yeah, maybe a pay cut is worth it. You can always make more money, but you can't ever get that time back with your family. So I think that should always be your number one priority. Obviously, there's a dollar amount for everything, so depending on what that pay cut looks like and if it's worth it for you and your household, then yeah, I totally would be a proponent of changing careers and industries if that is something that you're open to get that added time with your family.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I have also told Greg, Jordan's husband.
We talk about this a lot.
It comes up.
It does.
So I was in a similar situation about a little over a year ago. So I worked in consulting out of college, and honestly, it paid pretty well. But the hours just weren't working for me anymore. And for context, this office, it was like, I want to say 75% men. I think there were only 2 women with children who worked there. And I just didn't see it working with what I want to do with my life. I enjoy having this podcast. I enjoy, my social media stuff. And none of that was possible with that job. And I want to have a family. It just didn't feel possible. So I needed to make a change. And I decided to go into FP&A, or corporate finance, which is what I do now. And at the time, it was a big decision because I left $50,000 on the table when I left. That was bonuses that were accrued but not paid out yet, and that I was completely walking away from, stock options, and a little bit of money that was unvested in my 401k. And I also took a pay cut. And it wasn't an easy decision to make for those reasons. But I have to say, as soon as I made the decision, I felt complete peace because I felt like I had my life back. I have so much more time than I used to. Even though my job requires me to work late sometimes or put in hours, it's nothing like it used to be. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is so worth it. Also, transparently, it only took a year and I'm back up to what I was making in consulting. So no regrets at all. It'll definitely pay off, especially if you're going into something where you're more into it, you're more passionate about it, and you have the bandwidth to perform better and move up faster. I think that's been a big thing for me personally. But yeah, I know you said you're not quite sure what you want to do yet. That'll come with time. Just start looking now. And the best time to do it is right now because it's only going to get harder and harder as time goes on. I think in private equity, I'll get off my soapbox in a minute. I think private equity is probably similar to consulting in that there's kind of like golden handcuffs. If you keep going, there's going to be more bonuses, and there's always more bonuses that have accrued but haven't paid out yet. And, you're always just waiting to get paid your next bonus. So you have to bite the bullet. You just have to decide that you're done with it and make the change. And I think you'll feel so much better. You'll feel like you have your life back.
Yeah. And like, it's super important that you like what you do. You're passionate about, your job. So I don't really struggle with this like Greg and Reagan have in the past. And just an update, he is very happy with his job now. Like, things have kind of turned around. He's kind of found his footing. So he's not changing industries, but I wouldn't be opposed for him ever doing that. But having said that, I love what I do so much. I'm very passionate about it. Tax season is kind of like our game day. And, I get jazzed about it every November, December. I'm super excited about it right now because I want to perform. I want to do good. And I feel like there is like I said previously, there is a dollar amount to where hey, I'm making X amount of dollars. This is going to allow my family to live the lifestyle that I want. And
so true.
So it's kind of a balance. It depends on how passionate you are about everything. And if it makes sense for your family.
Yeah, but if you don't like what you're doing enough, if it's not worth the time, just quit now, I would say.
Yeah, if you don't like it, life is too short. Life is way too short.
Absolutely. The money is never going to be worth it.
Well, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you again for joining us. And Reagan, do you have anything else to say?
I think that's all. Just remember to keep going. The work you're doing will pay off, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, and we're here for you going through it too, so you're not alone. Have a good one.
Bye.